You know a game is doing horrifically when I can type in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and literally the entire first page for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero on YouTube is this entire community crashing out over this game, talking about how trash the gameplay is, talking about how trash the developers are for doing nothing to fix this pathetic Frankenstein of a horror show they've unleashed against this entire Dragon Ball games community. How this game continues to be a disappointment that keeps on giving woe to the entire Dragon Ball community. And it's courtesy of perfection and natural selection that you all found this out. I've noticed that everyone's been using my talking points. Well, I just want to say you're welcome. I'm the one who led the downfall of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and it was my master plan that dismantled this game from top to bottom, and I've witnessed the downfall and destruction of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And all that being said, you know what I notice that people are talking about? You know, you have people talking about how trash the gameplay is, and that's true. The gameplay is very trash. You notice how people are talking about how pathetic the developers are. And yeah, the developers are pretty pathetic. But you want to know what I noticed? Nobody ever talks about one of the biggest core issues with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and that is the issue of presentation. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero lacks presentation. Now I know the Sparking Zero defenders are on the phone, they're on the hotline already, they're on the Discord call talking about how what is perfection talking about? This game has the best graphics of the PS5. Look, we all know that the PS4 Xenoverse 2 cutscenes look better than Sparking Zero. Let's be honest. Let's be perfectly honest. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're not talking about the visuals. We're talking about the other areas of presentation. Graphics be damned. Let's just put the graphics over to the side. We're not going to argue about that because that's not all that comes with presentation. Let's talk about it. So, we all remember the promotion of this game, right? How we got down to that last commercial that was revealed for GT and the Dragon Ball Z movie characters. How they got to the movie characters and they started doing that Toonami style of editing, and then when they were revealing the movie characters, they showed all the movie posters. They showed it with the corresponding characters. They got you amped up for the reveal of these Z movie characters. They showed you their ultimates. They showed you their super attacks ripped right from the movies, and they got you pumped up. They played all the right kind of music. They had them do all the one-liners and whatnot. They had all that presentation. But do you want to know what they did when you got to the full game? And I've had people tell me this, and I've seen streams. And you want to know what they ended up doing to those characters, how it came to presentation in the actual game? You know, how in the actual game, when you get to these characters, they're not implemented at all. They're not in the story mode, except for I think one Frieza What If, where he can either pick King Cold or Cooler to come into the tournament of power. But all the Z movie characters are not in the story mode at all. Oh no. No. They didn't do that. No. You know what they did? Instead of properly presenting them in the story mode and giving them their own arc, their own attention, their own focus, their own stages, you know what they ended up doing to those characters that they acted like they were respecting in that commercial? They shoved them soullessly into the Z shop for you to buy them later. That was their presentation for the movie characters and the GT characters in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Oh, and speaking of soulless, let's talk about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero's pathetic excuse of a story mode called Episode Battle. I have to say it, I've played every Dragon Ball console game. Every single one. All the Budokais, all the Budokai Tenkaichis, all the Raging Blast, Xenoverse. I've played Infinite Worlds. I've played them all. I've played Ultimate Tenkaichi. I have played them all. Okay? And I can say, with all that expertise, that without a shadow of a doubt, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero takes the cake as the worst Dragon Ball game of all time, but definitely in the realm of telling the story of Dragon Ball. You look at how they put together this sad excuse of a Dragon Ball game, where they go into the story mode and you get this soulless, heartless little PowerPoint presentation telling of the most iconic anime of all time. They factually just voted Dragon Ball the most iconic anime of all time. Japan did. And this is how you treated it, right? You come in, no narration for like 90% of the time, and you just have a PowerPoint presentation of the characters slightly moving, freeze framing, not doing. You like, really? After all that pump up in the commercials, right? You showing all the movie posters, all that. You can't even put the characters in the story mode. But in the story mode itself, I guess that would be an iota of a blessing. Because what would they do but be stuck in PowerPoint presentation moving frame by frame? Now I remember having my expertise of playing all those Dragon Ball games for the PS2, PS3, and PS4 era. I remember Budokai Tenkaichi 1, where it all began for Dragon Ball Arena Fighters. And I remember that story mode. And they kept it simple. What do they call it? Keep it simple, stupid? You know, that's sometimes all you need. And how they went in, they had King Kai come in and give you the synopsis of the story. They would do their best to replay the events of the story in the background, animated, fully animated by the way, you know, with gameplay. They would have that, and they would have King Kai narrating a synopsis of the battle. Then you would go into the battle, and then when you finish the entire story, the entire arc, then you would get King Kai come back, and he would put a nice little bow on everything. Like, yeah, Goku won, da 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 da, ba 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 ba, bam. And then on to the next one.
It has been 3 years since the mysterious you Trunk has foretold of the coming horror of the android. A group of formidable opponents born of the Red Ribbon Army stand ready to confront the Z-Fighters in a battle that will change the course of history. Try me!
But what about Sparking Zero? What do they give you? A PowerPoint presentation where most of it isn't even narrated. You know the shameful part of it? They have the guy who does the Dragon Ball Z narration, right? Because if you didn't know this, the voice actor for Gohan is the guy who does the intros and outros for Dragon Ball. Whenever they're narrating that and getting you ready for the next episode. So that's the guy that does it, right? So you had the guy right there, and you would not pay him a little bit more and give him some lines and have him just like lay down what's gonna go on in the story. You couldn't find the guy who does the King Kai voice and have him come in. But you got everyone hyped with that nostalgic Toonami commercial, acting like you were gonna go the whole 9 yards for this game, and you couldn't bring anybody in to narrate it. You couldn't bring in King Kai or Gohan or whoever to come in and narrate this game. You cut corners because you're a bunch of cheapskates, but what's worse is that you're billionaire cheapskates. That's how pathetic Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is. You know, I find it funny and ironic how Sparking Zero called itself the ultimate Dragon Ball game, the ultimate Tenkaichi game is what I believe they called it, right? And I find that ironic because it's actually worse than Ultimate Tenkaichi. Sparking Zero is just another soulless remake, just like the photorealistic Lion King. And just like the photorealistic Lion King, Sparking Zero is nothing but an exhibition of technology, but no heart and no soul. Let's talk about the fact that they put everyone on the back of Bulma's porch, right, for the menu screen, with like the Pilaf gang loop to run to Bulma and then run back to Huddle. I've seen footage of that from streams, and it's so soulless and lifeless, and it's uncanny. Like all the characters are mocap instead of animated. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but none of these characters are actually animated. Like character models are actually taken into a program and actually made to do things, right? No. They put a guy in a suit And that's why I kept on getting the impression. I was looking at streams and I was looking at footage and I was like, something about these characters just didn't sit right. I kept on looking at how they moved. I was watching streams, I was looking at footage, and I kept on looking at these characters and I was like, yeah, these characters are not actually animated. This is all mocap. And then I had the people that were contributing footage through the Dropbox, had them show me some like emotes of the characters doing them in mid battle. And it was always like the characters quit moving like actual character models and they start moving like someone was in a like Barney suit or in a mocap suit, and they would do the emote. And I was like, nah, this was definitely mocap instead of authentically animated. It's like, why would you sacrifice the presentation instead of animating the emotes, like paying someone to actually animate them in a program? You would instead take the lazy route and just do a mocap in an anime game where the movement is the characters. Like the animation is very important. You can't just take mocap technology and toss it into an anime game format. But they don't care about presentation. And then you compare that to the older Dragon Ball games, especially the Tenkaichi games, where the menu screen was like the life of the game. You'd go in and you'd have a simple GIF animation. A simple GIF animation had more life than anything Sparking Zero currently has in its menu screen. A bunch of dead, like looped mocap animations lose out to a life-filled GIF. A life-filled GIF that had like a happy expression that the voice actor delivered. I think that was a lot of it too. The voice actors delivered, telling you about the different modes. The music, oh boy, we gotta talk about the music too, because we've already talked about how all the music in this game is just generic heroic track number 99, where nobody actually composed a unique track for this game. It's just like someone went, like whoever was in charge of the marketing or the budget for this game just went to a generic library of music and just picked out a bunch of generic heroic tracks. Generic track number 99 and just picked it and put it in the game. None of these tracks sound good. That is what this game is infamous for having the worst soundtrack of any Dragon Ball game. And no, sir, buying the actual anime music does not make up for that in any way, shape, or form. The soundtrack should be able to stand on its own 2 feet, and it doesn't. That used to be an experience, right? For years after, everyone wants to listen to Tenkaichi 1, Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3 music, Rage and Blast music. Everyone's putting in their YouTube videos. But Sparking Zero doesn't have any original tracks that rock like that. Not a single one, because all of them are generic heroic track number 99 bought from a soulless little music library by whoever was in charge of budgeting for this game. That's how pathetic this is. And then the music, the menu music really sells that, right? Because you get that generic Dragon Ball Super sound. Now again, I think we can all agree Dragon Ball Super's music choice was just really pathetic. Like you had a couple of bangers like Limit Break Survivor. Yeah, that's good. The Ultra Instinct theme, the Jiren music, whenever Jiren would be like dominating someone, beat no cell, someone's attacking, his music would hit, and he's about to eliminate someone. You're like, okay, cool. They had like what? Maybe 5 good tracks compared to Dragon Ball Z, where every saga had a soundtrack that defined it, especially the Bruce Faulkner dub. Like the original music was okay, cool, but like the Westerners, we all remember the Faulkner dub. We are not gonna pretend like we don't. And every saga, the Frieza saga had a sound, the Cell saga had a sound, the Buu saga had a sound. But in the games, it sort of replicated that because the games, they had their sound too. Budokai Tenkaichi 2 had a banger soundtrack. Tenkaichi 3, banger soundtrack. Ultimate Tenkaichi, banger soundtrack. Rage and Blast 1, banger soundtrack. Rage and Blast 2, even in the menu music. Rage and Blast 1, menu music, legendary. Legendary. I don't care what you say. But then you get to this, you get to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and this menu music just sounds like the most generic. Like it could fit any game. Like if you were to slap this menu music in a One Piece game and didn't say anything at all, you wouldn't notice the difference. You would, I doubt that you would even notice. Games should sound distinct. distinct. But no, just whatever old soundtrack. We don't care that the creator of Dragon Ball just passed away. We're just gonna do whatever with his franchise, because that's how we treat people when they leave the face of this earth. We just treat their children, their creations. We treat them like whatever. I hate that, and it makes me hate this game even more. Just even more. How pathetic this game has been handled. Like, people want to think that I'm just mad because it's not Xenoverse 3. Oh no. That's not it. That's nowhere near it. The presentation of this game from top to bottom has been unmitigated garbage. And I see why people were in a rush to beat this game. But you'll never beat the end game of all games. Perfection and natural selection. And if you can't beat me, which you know you can't, you might as well join me. Hit that subscribe button, enable all notifications. I will see you in the next video.